welcome you today to today's ATV Forum. My name is Mr. Gandaro, and I'm here with Mr. Rossignol today, and we're hosting this event on behalf of the Madawaska Social Studies Department. Given the fact that well over 400 ATVs are registered in the town of Madawaska, it's clear that they're a very big part of our lives as residents of northern Maine. They are used for transportation, they're used for work, outdoor recreation, and for pleasure. Just out of curiosity, how many of you have one or more ATVs in your family? Could you raise your hand, please? All right, thank you. Another question for you. How many of you own your own ATV or motorbike? How many of you own your own? All right, thank you. And finally, the last very, very important question, because some of you are seated here saying, "Oh, what does this have to do with me? What am I doing here?" But I know this question will bring up even more hands. How many of you have actually ridden on an ATV in the last year or two? Show of hands, please. So the number, as you can see, is substantial. It's substantial, and I think it's very important for us to be informed about the ATV laws that govern the use of these vehicles. They're very enjoyable, but they are potentially very destructive. Potentially, remember those words, potentially very destructive. They don't have to be, but they can be. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Rossignol. He's going to introduce the first person on our panel.
Thanks, Mr. Gandaro. First of all, it's a pleasure to be here this morning with this fine panel. It's going to be very informative for the area of ATVs. First, I'd like to introduce Mr. Adrian Markey. Mr. Markey, thank you. A State of Maine Game Warden representing the Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife. Mr. Markey was born and raised in the Valley. That makes him good already. He attended the Fort Kent schools, eventually graduating with a degree from the University of Maine at Fort Kent with a Bachelor's of Science in Environmental Biology. After graduation, he joined the Department of Public Safety in Orno, working as a dispatcher. In 2006, he joined the Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife as a game warden. Mr. Markey actively patrols the woods, lakes, fields, and waters of Maine, the Madawaska District, enforcing the laws that pertain to hunting, fishing, ATVs, snowmobiling, and boating. He also participates and is in charge of search and rescue operations, among other things. He grew up running the rivers in northern Aroostook County and hunting in the Allagash area. I don't know if he's ever picked as much fiddleheads as I have, but probably not. And has been an outdoorsman all his life. Please welcome Mr. Markey.
The second member of our panel today is Mr. Ron Pelletier, the Chief of Police for the town of Madawaska. After graduating from MHS, Chief Pelletier enlisted in the Marines, gaining valuable experience that led to a position with the Madawaska Police Department. During his time as an officer, he eventually obtained his associate's degree in criminology and eventually his bachelor's degree as well. Chief Pelletier became chief after 11 years as an officer and now has given us 39 years of service on the force. Yes, that's right. If you do the math, he has been the chief of police for 28 years. In addition, he is a graduate of the FBI Academy's training program in Quantico, Maryland. He's been there for a 3-month program. He will retire on July 1 of this year, and he looks forward to spending time with his grandkids and his daughters. And we want to thank you, Chief, for helping us out today.
Amazing, dedicated service, Chief. Thirdly, we have Mr. Roger Albert, the Treasurer and Webmaster of the Madawaska ATV Club. Mr. Albert is also a graduate of Madawaska High School and served in the military after our high school. He has a variety of job experiences, including work in finance, food service, commercial and residential construction, computer service and sales, and finished his working career at Fraser Papers. He's now retired, but is very active in the community, particularly with the ATV Club as an officer. He enjoys spending time with his children and grandchildren, and is looking forward to a good year of ATV riding with his wife and friends. Please welcome Mr. Albert.
And last but not least, we have Mr. WOWL Duchesne. Mr. Duchesne is a lifelong resident of Madawaska, having graduated from MHS, this very building, in 1969, and immediately thereafter joining the workforce at Fraser Papers, where he is still employed after 42 years with the company. In 1984, he helped create the Madawaska ATV Venture Club, yes, 1984. And has been a director and past president. In fact, he's been the president for 9 years at one point over the years. He's assisted in the creation of about a dozen local ATV clubs from Allagash to Caribou. And in 1995, in collaboration with Brian Bronson of the Department of Conservation and other representatives from around the state, he helped create ATV Maine, the statewide organization that represents ATV interests for all riders in Maine. He continues to serve as the Northern Regional Vice President for that group. He also serves as a volunteer ATV instructor. Some of you may have been in classes with him before. And he helps coordinate the Al Langley Memorial Scholarship Ride to support academic scholarships from ATV Maine. We're very fortunate to have Mr. Duchesne here today, and we thank him for attending. In addition to our panel, we have a few people onlooking here that I'd just like to recognize briefly. And I'll start in no particular order here, but we have Mr. June Hebert, who is the Trail Master for the Madawaska Club. Could you stand, please, Mr. Hebert? We have a board of director on the club, Mr. Ray Bolia. We have Angel Duchesne, who is the club secretary. I'd like to recognize her. And in the very back of the room, we have Nelson Jobber, who is a director of the ATV Club as well. The tough guy in open fairly well. As you can see, we have a diverse, talented, and experienced group to lead our discussion today. And what we'd like to do is we'd like to allow our panel members to now make an opening statement about ATVs. This will be a very brief statement, but it's a general statement they're going to make for us, so I'll get the mic ready for them.
That's check.
Again, Adrian Markey, game warden in the area. My biggest concern is that when you guys go out on your ATVs, your friends' ATVs, is that it's done in a safe manner. Okay. The worst call a game warden can get is going to an accident involving a young person, or any person at all, but particularly a young person getting in their life because of misuse of an ATV or dangerous operation. We want to make sure that you guys all get home at night, have supper with mom and dad, whoever it is, and also. But that's number one for us. The other thing is, you all know that our ATV trails in this area are extensive, and the reason why that is because we have landowners that have been generous enough to allow the ATV trails to go on their property, through their property. And with that being said, if the trails continue to be treated with respect, as well as the landowners get treated with respect, that use will continue. But if people start damaging property and misusing the property, we're going to find our trails getting closed down one after another, and that costs the ATV clubs thousands of dollars to reroute trails, try to find other access in other places, not to mention all the relationships that they have built over the years. So I guess that's my biggest thing, the safety and respect of the landowners. Thank you.
Being a law enforcement officer like Mr. Marquis, my biggest concern is also your safety and the safety of all the operators of ATVs, and as well as the landowner's property. Our job in law enforcement is safety and also protection and preservation of other people's properties. And as Mr. Marquis said, if you abuse any landowner's properties, they'll take it away from you. And not only you, but everybody else that wants to use it. And like everything else, only takes one or two people to spoil it for everybody else. If you help us, police, the other riders or the ATV members, if you see someone doing something that you don't think is right, take it upon yourself to go and see them and talk to them about what they're doing. And if you're not getting the reaction that you need to help us. You need to come forward and talk to us and tell us what's happening, because we're not going to be patrolling the trails, but we're going to be responding. And oftentimes what we respond to is someone telling us that they don't want anybody on their property anymore. So help us to protect your rights as well. We need your help for that. Thank you.
My name is again Roger Albert. I'm treasurer of the club and I'm a board of director also. Our law enforcement here to my left have touched on a subject they call landowners. And if there's anything that I will try to do here this morning is to impress on you the relationship between you, the rider, the club, and the landowner. Without the landowner, believe me, no one rides. No one. Anybody care to guess how many landowners that this club has to deal with from the floor?
Just in Madawaska, Mr. Albert?
Just Madawaska.
105.
20.
I hear 20?
25.
25? How about over 90 landowners that this club deals with every year that we have to get in touch with and get permission? And we get permission for all riders, whether they be a club member or not. So again, I'm going to be speaking a little further on here this morning after our video presentation, and I'm going to bring the landowner issues again. And that's about all I have to say right now. Thank you.
My name is Real Payne, and Colin said a while ago how much I've been involved in ATVs. Going back to Mr. Marquis and Mr. Pilsey said about law enforcement and trail being shut down. ATV main major issue is safety and having trail access for ATVs. In March, I went down to a meeting in Lincoln. They've got 700 registered ATVs in the town of Lincoln. And they were banning ATVs from the town completely because of reckless operating of ATVs on the street. By the end of that, they did a survey among the people there, decided to do a committee to get the residents, the ATVers, and the board of selectmen together. Now they open up town again for ATVs, but certain issues they had to look at. So like Mr. Pilsey said, we have to police ourselves. If we see something going wrong, somebody doing wrong, we can have problem, trails being shut down. So that's all I have for now.
At this time, we're going to close the lights and we're going to watch a very good video. It's about 15 minutes long, created by, I believe, ATV Maine and the Department of Conservation. Very informative on what you need to do as an ATV rider. So we'll go to the